Even though the building has been purchased, it's still up in the air whether this old bookstore will become the new West Norman Library. Happening now on OU Nightly, students and locals say goodbye to another legendary Norman bar. A presidential campaign sets up shop in Norman, and pull out those jackets. Shelby Hayes is tracking a frosty cold front headed our way. All of that and more starts right now on OU Nightly. Band plays and the engines roar at the Guthrie Edmond Airport's Community Day. Pilots are taking to the skies, showing off their classic and restored airplanes by doing flyovers and a stunt or two.
I purchased it from the South African Air Force about 15 years ago, and I've been flying it since. It's actually a simpler airplane than your normal GA airplanes, general aviation airplanes that you purchase nowadays. It's 1930s technology, built in 1943.
But it's classic planes like Hans that have been grabbing the attention of aviation fans nationwide. Just 1 week before the Guthrie Airport's event, a plane built in the same era as Hans T-6 crashed into spectators in Reno, Nevada, killing 11 people and the pilot. Many pilots we spoke with say accidents happen, but that doesn't keep them from taking to the sky.
That is a tragedy, and we all feel really terrible about that. We're close to this sport. We understand what has happened.
But it is part of the sport, and we do everything we can to preclude and prevent things like that, and hopefully nothing like that will happen again here in the near future.
Pilots say it's events like Guthrie's Community Day that inspire the next generation of pilots and keep the sport alive.
They have to be exposed to it, and that's what a lot of this is. When I was young, their age, I was not exposed to aviation. First airplane I ever touched was in pilot training.
Airport officials are so confident in their safety precautions that they are selling gas at deep discounts so visitors can go for rides. Ricky Maranon, News 9.
In studio, Ricky?
Thanks, ladies. We are joined by the Central Oklahoma Red Cross spokesperson, Rusty Surratt. Rusty, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, sir.
If you can give us a little bit of a rundown of what you do on a daily basis.
What my job is to be the Director of Communications and Marketing and Branding for Central and Western Oklahoma. I also assist with disaster communications in 5 of our surrounding states during times of need.
I know there have been some recent emergencies that you've gone out with and victims. Do you give support to victims like that on a regular basis?
Yeah, one of the things we do is disaster response. Our primary job is to focus on Central and Western Oklahoma, where we're stationed at, and we do provide emergency assistance for those who've been affected by disasters. And by disasters, we respond on everything from a hurricane to a tornado, all the way down to the everyday house fire and apartment fires that sometimes don't even make the news.
As far as we're showing some video of some wildfires right now, has this summer been, we've seen wildfires all over the place. Has it been extreme? Is this the norm? And how do you prepare for something like that?
Ricky, this was one of probably the busiest summers in American Red Cross's history, because we weren't only dealing with wildfires, but we had hurricanes and we had flooding in different parts of the country. We had, in this summer, more operations going on nationwide than any other time in our nation's history. At one point, we were helping more people in the South than what we did with Hurricane Katrina a couple of years ago. So absolutely, this was one of the busiest years we've ever had, and it's only going to get busier as we go into winter.
Now, speaking of winter, I mean, we've seen the forecast projections. Some are saying it's going to be just as bad. How do you gear up for that, or is it oh my gosh, or
preparation, and of course we depend on volunteers. 90% of our force are volunteers, and we depend on people like you and the people watching. It's all about sponsors and getting that support from the community, and we just prepare. We're ready. We know winter's coming. You're right. We do hear that the forecast is not a pretty one. We look like we may have some ugly ice storms and snowstorms, but we are getting the plans in place. We're calling our volunteers, and we encourage anyone watching right now to sign up. We're more than happy to get the help.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it. We'll send it back to you, ladies.
Now, crews are still battling a large wildfire near Slaughterville in Cleveland County.
That's right, and OU Nightly's Ricky Maranon was there this afternoon, and Ricky, no injuries have been reported.
Yeah, guys, this thing broke out just before 3 o'clock, and when we got there, they were first starting to turn school buses around. So if you have kids in that area, you're definitely going to want to call the school. But what we have actually seen lately is that they have called in the Army to help them deal with the blaze. They are getting water from local ponds and rivers to help fight this fire. Every now and then you'll see a puff of smoke and then it'll die down and you're thinking that the worst of it is gone, but then it will start to pop up again and it will get a new fuel source. This thing doesn't look like it's anywhere from being over. As far as we can tell, if you live anywhere in that area, you're going to be turned around. You're going to have to wait somewhere until this is battled. But like we said, if you do have kids in the area, you need to call. We have seen school buses being turned around and they have actually closed the roads.
Wow, well, thank you so much for covering that. And of course, we will keep you updated with the latest details.
And guys, we are just south of Norman right here on Highway 9 where a grass fire has broken out in the Summon Valley neighborhood. We are told that parts of the neighborhood deep in the woods are actually on fire. Now what we can tell so far is that police have shut down 36th Street right here on Highway 9. If you live in the Summit Valley neighborhood, you will not be allowed to enter without proof of residency. And we also, I don't know if you can see it right behind me, we actually have neighbors standing in their front yard calling people and letting them know if it's okay to come home. Now, we haven't gotten much word out of police except to say that they are considering shutting down Lindsay Street between 24th Street and 36th Street, and we'll bring you more information as it comes. We're live right here at the fire, and we'll stay here and keep you updated. Call at a popular Norman bar on Saturday, Mr. Bill's Restaurant and Pub. It's closing its doors and moving away from campus. Mr. Bill's has been a popular spot for Norman residents since it opened in 1978. Republican presidential candidate Ron Paul is setting up shop in Norman. Paul's 2012 Main Street campaign site opened Friday with hopes to draw large crowds from OU students. The location is being paid for by supporters who pledge $60 a month for rent and utilities. They are still looking for volunteers to help with campaigning efforts. The campaign says they hope to bring Paul to Norman soon and hope he will stop by in the next couple of months. Tough economic times have fewer motorists pimping their rides. The Oklahoma Tax Commission says the sales for specialty license plates have dropped by more than 3,000, but sales numbers look even more grim when projected out over 5 years. Over the past 5 years, specialty plates have dropped in sales by 51,000. And I tell you what, Erin, it was a good day to ride around in the convertible with the top down.
It was. Too bad I don't have one. But I hear we're expecting more fall-like temperatures coming up soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Shelby, what's going on? I hear there's frost in the forecast. The state really needed this rain. This year's drought has cost the state nearly $2 billion in agriculture revenue. High temperatures and a lack of rain reduced hay production, forcing ranchers to sell off cattle. However, the recent rains means much needed relief for some parts of the farming industry. The rains will allow some parts of Oklahoma to plant winter crops. The panhandle and far western portions of the state have been hit the hardest by the drought. Chase started in Indiana but ended in Ohio, where the girl is in juvenile custody and faces charges in both states. So I guess lesson learned, if you're going to break the law, do it in one state.
Kind of gives a whole new meaning to Sunday driver.
Yeah. Shelby, let's have a look at the 5-day one more time.